I want to welcome you, colleagues. We are still admitting people into the space so that we can participate in this important conversation. So just take a few minutes while everyone gets settled and is settled, and then we will start. So we will get started now. We assume that those who will be joining can find us on the way. We have a maximum of 120 minutes as 2 hours of conversation. And we want to welcome you warmly to this space. My name is Reverend Dr. Kenneth Mtata. I'm the program director for public witness and diaconia here at the World Council of Churches. We are hosting this webinar on Sudan in solidarity with the plight of the people of Sudan who are caught in the middle of a protracted conflict. This is a very important conversation we are having because the situation in Sudan is so dire, but it has not received the kind of attention other conflicts in the world have received. But recently, the World Council of Churches went to Sudan on a ecumenical solidarity visit from the 18th to the 22nd of April, accompanied by other ecumenical bodies from the All Africa Conference of Churches, from the ACT Alliance, Association of Episcopal Conferences in East Africa, from Global Ministries, Fellowship of Christian Councils of Churches in the Great Lakes and the Horn of Africa, FECLA, and also partners from the General Board of Global Ministries of the United Methodist Church and the Norwegian Church Aid. This delegation was meant to understand the nature of the situation in Sudan, so that the ecumenical movement will be properly informed on how we can support the people of Sudan in their current situation. And today, what we are going to do is just to revisit that journey, that trip we had. We will get some input from some of the people who participated in the ecumenical solidarity visit. We will also take some time to listen to participants from civil society who give us a background of the conflict. We will also take time to understand the nature and the depth and the breadth of the humanitarian situation as it stands today. We will seek to understand the current peace efforts, why the peace efforts have not been successful, and what needs to be done. We will conclude by reflecting together on what is the best way to support the people of Sudan. We have asked some colleagues to open up conversations for us, but all of you who are participating here, if you want to contribute, we will create a session when participants can also make a contribution. But for us to kickstart this conversation, I will give a few minutes to those who were part of the delegation, starting with our Africa program lead from the World Council of Churches, Reverend Dr. Ibrahim Wushishi Yusuf, who was the one who organized the trip together with colleagues on the ground, just for him to give us a sense of how this prepared and what was his observations. To you, Dr. Oshishi. Everything else will be muted while we have our colleagues share their views. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kenneth, and thanks to all the participants who find time to join this meeting. I will start my reflections and observations from the planning process. I remember we had a similar ecumenical solidarity visit to Khartoum in 2022, and I was fully involved in the planning. And on this one also, I could see the difference of the planning in 2022 and the planning in 2024. Because this time around, even the leadership of the council being IDPs in post-Sudan, it was not really easy. Many a times during the planning, they would be in their vehicle under a shade to participate. Unlike in 2022, they would be in their comfort of their office. And also that affected the issue of the flow of the visas, that the visas came late. Some participants missed their flight, and at the end, they could not even join. These are also the challenges of being in the environment, the context they are today. We now had the visit. It was good that we had the visit. It was very successful because the people intend to meet. I can say about 90% of the people we planned to meet, the activities were carried out. We met with the church leaders, women leaders, youth leaders. We met with the Islamic leaders. We met with the humanitarian agencies in Port Sudan, and some of them came from all over, like in Khartoum. We also met with the head of the Sovereign Council. We met with the vice president of the Sovereign Council. We met with the head of the, that is the security of Sudan. However, our plan to meet with the rapid response forces could not succeed. Before we get there, we're very much in contact with them, but we could not receive the needed response. We are still following up with the consultation to ensure that we find opportunity to meet with them as well, to hear of their own version of the crisis. What was the main purpose of the visit? As we all know, it was to really demonstrate our solidarity, the pastoral accompaniment to the churches and the people of Sudan, and also to listen to them, to listen to their situations. And during the listening, I observed that most of the things we heard from them were voices of frustration, voices of depression, voices of suffering, voices of dehumanization, voices of hunger, abuse, neglect, and also calls to the delegation with this message: please help us end this war. Another vital call was, please be our voice. So these are the things we heard from the people we met, including the religious leaders, the women leaders, the youth leaders. Everybody seemed to be frustrated. And another context we observed was that even the heads of churches we met with are also IDPs. The leadership of the councils, IDPs, that made it also very complicated and difficult, making their effort to ensure that they provide the needed support, unlike what we saw and experienced in 2022. Even to my own observation, even when I look at even the government structure, in 2022, we met with the head of the Sovereign Council in his own office in Khartoum. We met with other, stakeholders in their own offices in Khartoum. But coming to Port Sudan, those were also different environments, which also affected what we really experienced in 2022 compared to what we're experiencing now. And we have heard a lot about the issue of the humanitarian challenges, that really needed an urgent attention. And even the Council of Churches and the member churches that are also IDPs in Port Sudan, they need the accompaniment, they need the support of the ecumenical partners, ecumenical families, the specialized ministries to accompany them because they need more accompaniment. And another thing I observed, that the trust that seems to be on the church and the council, even I think from the head of the Sovereign Council, also mentioned that publicly, we will want to work with the ecumenical family through the Council of Churches. And this is the Council of Churches that also need capacity that is not strong. So that is a challenge. Those are the things I observed. But I could see that this is the right time for the ecumenical family to really gear up and then take up the responsibilities to support this church, a minority church in the context of the South, that is Sudan. So we need to really strengthen. That is why we're still working, looking at how do we follow up this visit. So this is just to start with my brief observation from this visit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Ushishi. You were at the center of this planning and also the execution. You have been following up. I think it's important you highlight that our intention was not necessarily to meet the government now in Port Sudan, but also to see if it is possible for us to get in contact with the rebel, the leadership of the other warring faction. We are going to hear a little bit more about that in our conversation. Father James, you have been at the heart of the several transitions in Sudan. Right now, you are in South Sudan as the General Secretary for the Council of Churches in South Sudan. What was your observation? You have an insider understanding of the conflict over the years. What were your observations?
Yes, I'm saying thank you very much for this opportunity that we have created in this webinar to share some of our experience of what we saw in Port Sudan. And above all, of how I see the Sudanese who are displaced, who are refugees in South Sudan. Whenever I see it, it reminds me of the pains that we are still going through, even as South Sudanese. The South Sudanese who have been in Sudan, who have been forced to come back to South Sudan. However, during the solidarity visit, I saw the suffering of women, the suffering of girls, the suffering of children, and the specific needs for women and girls who are not being attended to. That was in Port Sudan, leave alone in other parts of Sudan, in El Obeid, in Atbara, in Shende, in Gadarif. All these are places where people have been displaced. And then the toll of the violence is very high and heavy on these people. And also, what I read in the visit was the lack of health facilities. In short, unfavorable living conditions for the IDPs. And that exposes people to sexual gender-based violence. I saw in the schools, the space were what they are. And then things were what they are. Some of you, or those who were with us during the visit, saw the tears in the eyes of those women and elderly men. At a certain point, some 3 girls came and stood at my feet and asked for if I could provide them the sanitary pads. Then I asked them, where do I get it from? Then they said the pharmacy. When I gave them the money, they bought it. But then I asked, what's the cost? In the end, we bought something for them. You can see what the consequence and the violence of war are brought to these young girls. I also saw the humanitarian support which needed to be strengthened. We had our ecumenical partners there, the specialized ministries in Port Sudan, but they were all limited. They cannot move beyond Port Sudan. Those who are in Atbara cannot move beyond Atbara. Those who are in coast in the south cannot move beyond because there are some restrictions and conditions attached to non Sudanese to travel about. So in that regard, things are challenging. And also I want to ask the university what should reach there. You need to also consider about the gender sensitivity and consider women and girls' specific needs, especially. It's not only the food that people need, it's not only the blankets that they need, but other things that these our poor girls need and poor women. I saw also the IDPs in schools. There's IDP living in schools means no education. And that was the reality we have seen. Children are not going to school. It's already 1 year down the line. And even this is the second year of the war. Of course, things will continue like that. However, I want to believe that peace is paramount. Any process of peace can transform that country. I heard from the presidency the challenge of the word dialogue. When we met him, there was that point of view of the roadmap. Our team leader that time was His Eminence, the Bishop from Nigeria, or the president of the WCC Africa. He was trying to question the roadmap. But when the president was speaking, especially in Arabic, he was very skeptical about dialogue because their opponents, the RSF, in the process of any dialogue, they'll accept dialogue. But when the dialogue will buy time, according to them, in order to retake other territories. So there's no sense of trust. They don't trust each other, the military and the RSF. But although both of this team, whether the military, whether the RSF, they come from the same school. The military, the army trained, made what is called RSF, Rapid Support Force. So it's their making. And today they don't have trust among themselves. And the process of dialogue, the process of getting them together, what we just need is to enhance the spirit of understanding so that they understand what they want in the end. I told the president, as I stood with him, I said, for example, all this destruction, what gain does it have? Even he stressed in his speech, he said, he understands that the war in Sudan today, is more a war perpetrated by others, and they are just implementing it. After they implementing, after they destroying themselves, then these others will come and work on them. They have understood it. Then I said, if you understand that, then you need to get to the table and clear your issues so that opponents, the proxies, don't use you to kill and destroy your country. However, engaging the RSF, their representative in Juba, I talked to him, and he said they're willing to meet the ecumenical body, but we have to hold on after the Jeddah discussion. The process of Jeddah started yesterday in Saudi Arabia, but the government delegation seems haven't gone, but the other delegations are still waiting. It's an issue of all trust and mistrust. We want to believe that the journey we have started needs the support from the church on the ground in Sudan. But the church on the ground in Sudan has got its own challenges. All of them are displaced. Archbishop Ezekiel Kondo is a displaced primate. Archbishop Michael Didi is a displaced Archbishop of Khartoum. The bishop of the Coptic Orthodox Church is a displaced person from Khartoum. The chair of the council is a displaced person from Khartoum. All of them are displaced. Whenever you start anything with them, they first speak for themselves to say, we are displaced. Where do you expect us to be? We are in pains. What do you expect us to do? We're in tears. What do you want us to do? So these are all the narratives that they're telling us. They will need us to accompany them. They were grateful. I was even told by the children and the women in the displaced camps and in the streets of Port Sudan, they said, your coming was a blessing. You have come to see us in our misery. You have come to see us in our displacement. You have given us that hope that we had lost. Most of them had lost hope. But with this, with our visit, with the ecumenical visit, we gave them that new light. Whatever everything was dark. Whenever they went to sleep, they wouldn't want to sleep forever, to sleep, die in their sleep. But God hasn't accepted that. With our visit to them, they visited the church in Sudan. They visited the people in Sudan, meeting also those people in the institutions, gave them that light of hope, that strength of hope to believe that when I was hungry, when I was displaced, you came to visit me. So that was part of the body of Christ in pain, and we went in solidarity to listen to them. So the journey that we took, the experience that we took was very positive, and they had wanted it. So thank you for that. What we need to accompany them, holding the hands of the church and encourage the special ministries to take on the journey that we have started. And as for the RSF, when they give me the information, I'll inform you where they want us to meet them, whether in Kenya, whether in Geneva, whether in one of the African countries, we shall get you informed. This is what I can say from this experience. Thank you very much. Mutata?
Thank you very much, Father James. I think it was, yes, I thank you, Father James. We are grateful that we heard the responses, especially when some of the people we met really appreciated that their situation had not been forgotten by the churches, and that there were people who were continuing to lift their plight to the rest of the world, even though the world may be currently focusing or concentrating on other conflicts. They were glad that there were people who wanted to have their story told. And we are so grateful also, Father James, that you are continuing to make efforts for us to connect with other war factions, because the message for peace is one message that we had. Many people we met there were asking, please help us so that this war may come to an end. But this conflict is also has an effect in the region. I don't know if Miss Jeanette is connected. She could give us a sense from the FECLA, if she can give us a sense of what was her observation in light of the implications of this conflict for the region. Is Miss Jeanette connected?
Not yet.
Not yet. If not, maybe we could hear from Archbishop Kondo. For you, this is a pastoral situation, but your pastoral calling is stretched to the limits because of the current plight of many people. You have been dealing with many difficult situations in the region, but you can also share with us and the rest of those who are sitting with us here how much toll this has had on you in your pastoral responsibility, in your leadership as the leader of the church in this affected region.
Dr. Kenneth and all the members, participants, first, can I say thank you very much for this time that you have allocated through this facility so that we can hear and to maybe reflect on what took place during the solidarity visit of World Council of Churches and other organizations. As a leader of one of these churches in Sudan, I really want to appreciate the commitment that you people have taken. Even this can show the number of the participants in this meeting. This shows the seriousness and the support, the love that you have for your brothers and sisters in this suffering country. What I have, I can say, is that your visit on 18th to 22nd of April last month was a very, very important visit. It was a very crucial visit because people were not expecting that you come to Sudan at this time. It's a place where many Sudanese are leaving the country. Many Sudanese are displaced. And as my brother James mentioned, that maybe all the heads of churches in Sudan are displaced either in Port Sudan, Atbara, or Dungla. Why? Because all the headquarters of the churches in Sudan are in Khartoum. And I think you have seen how we poorly were able to welcome you. But what is important is that really the visit was so crucial, and because you came at a very, very difficult time that Sudanese themselves are living, and you are coming in. I think that was a very important thing for me, because this shows the love and the support you have to be in solidarity with us as Sudanese people, particularly the churches. The second thing, when you people went to visit some of these displaced camps, you can see how hopeful the people were, particularly when they were given envelopes of some money so that they can get something at least to eat. That was, for them, was very, very important. And so these are one of the things that I can say. Meeting some of the church leaders, women, and youth was also an encouragement. I think that the program was so well planned by you people, and we want to thank you. The other thing is meeting the leaders of the country, particularly the president of the Suffering Council, the deputy, and the man of security. You can hear that they were very, very happy that you were able to come. And particularly for you to see two top people in the country, I think that shows that people are willing and they are looking for solutions. But I think one thing that the president emphasized regarding the dialogue with the other party, particularly the RSF, seems to be conditioned by the RSF leaving the people's houses, the public institutions like ministries, schools, and particularly the people's houses, because these houses have been occupied from day one since the war began until this time. And so it seems the president was saying that dialogue is good, but to show that these people are serious, then they got to get out from the houses of the people. They are not fighting the people, they are fighting the army and the government. So people should be taken care of and should be given their houses. Then after that, dialogue can continue so that solution can be found. I think this is what I heard from the president when he was talking regarding the dialogue. My last observation is about Sudan Council of Churches. Of course, all of you know that the leaders of Sudan Council of Churches, particularly the chair and the general secretary, are displaced people. But I think also there have been some weaknesses that resulted into visas coming out late that made people, particularly the delegates who are prepared, came to the airports and they were able to go back. To me, that was very sad. But I think you know and you understand the situation. We would like you to continue to accompany us, particularly raising our voices to where the voices are not heard. You heard us speaking that Sudan is no longer in the media. It is only Gaza, Palestine, and Israel, Ukraine, and Russia. These are the places where people hear the suffering of those people, as if the blood of the Sudanese are cheap. And so your visit is the voice, our voice, and it is that will make people know the seriousness of the suffering of the people. Millions have fled the country. Thousands and thousands have died, and they are still dying. I can tell you that right now in Khartoum, Greater Khartoum, that is Khartoum North, Omdurman, and Khartoum itself, people now are dying of hunger because they are no longer food, and the access to find something is very difficult for security-wise. And so humanitarian assistance is crucial while people are looking for dialogue and for solution to stop the war. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Bishop Kondo, and we really appreciate your leadership at this moment. We can truly understand the burden this situation has on you as the bishop, but also as a citizen, you want to see your country prosper. But the burden you have to care for your flock is huge, and we could see it when we were there. But we could also recognize how much respect your people give you for sacrificially continuing to press on to find solutions for your country. We really appreciate. Reverend Dr. Jean was joining us from the United States, and it was important for us to make this delegation international. And for this reason, it was very good for us to have someone originally from South Korea, but serving the church in the United States. So you brought a different way maybe of looking at the situation. We will be glad to hear what were your observations on this solidarity visit.
Thank you, Dr. Kenneth and Tata. First of all, on behalf of Roland Fernandez, General Secretary of General Board of Global Ministries, I wish to express our appreciation to the WCC for organizing the ecumenical solidarity visit to Sudan, and we are grateful for the invitation extended to GBGM and for the follow-up webinar. Special thanks to you and to my brother Ushishi. Upon our arrival in Port Sudan, we witnessed the 1-year mark of the conflict between Sudan's paramilitary forces and the Sudanese forces. We have seen a military parade showcased the ongoing conflict with numerous technical vehicles carrying machine guns through the streets. This conflict persists, causing widespread internal displacement and worsening the humanitarian crisis. During our visit, we met internally displaced people, many from Khartoum, including church leaders. Since the government relocated its operation to Port Sudan, the Sudan Council of Churches also moved its office there, facing capacity constraints. We visited two shelters, Red Sea School and Mayo Girls School, where the displaced people lack essential items and health care access, rely on international aid due to government capacity limitations. As Father James said, we've seen many children living in shelters and camps without access to education over the whole year. This simply cannot be accepted. One more thing, what we have heard is that humanitarian agencies struggle to access territories controlled by the Sudan's paramilitary forces. We have also heard that the international humanitarian aid often arrives late, emphasizing the need for direct funds to address urgent needs promptly. Finally, we joined a worship service at the Episcopal Cathedral in Port Sudan, filled with mostly internally displaced people, including Archbishop Ezekiel Kondo. My sister Janet from Feklaha shared Rwanda's journey of the post-genocide, highlighting the church's crucial role at the time. Sudanese internally displaced people shed tears of hope, seeing their own resilience, strengthening solidarity. And this is a guiding signpost for money to vulnerable places and people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jean. We are so grateful that you joined the delegation, and I think your observation is shared, that we saw within this deep suffering, we also saw a deep sense of resilience, a reservoir of resilience and hope. And I think this is something very encouraging to see a people we have been in difficult situation exhibiting such sense of hope and stretching out their hands that they can grasp at anything that can give them a life. We are talking about the experiences of our visit, but some of you may not understand what exactly is this conflict in Sudan. Where did it come from? What is its nature? Who is involved? We want to take the next session just to a 101 introduction to the conflict in Sudan. Where is this coming from? What is it? Who are the people involved? This may help some of you to appreciate the complexity, but also the opportunities that are available in us finding a solution. I will ask Zara Haida to give us an initial sense of why are we having this conflict? Where is it coming from? I know that you will give us one story. You don't represent all the stories of the conflict, but yours is also a faithful story because you are Sudanese. You have been involved in civil society. You have been one of those who were hopeful that you were going through a transition that would usher democracy in Sudan. But now the situation is not what you hoped. What is the story of Sudan? How do you inform our participants here so that they can have a glimpse or an idea of where this conflict comes from and why it is where it is now.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for giving me this chance to share our perspective of what's happening and what's going on in Sudan. Why I said perspective, because there is a different perspective. It's depend to who and in which side they saw the story. It comes. You know, any stories had different aspects and different views. But me as a civil society members and also as activists, I characterize myself as activist since long time since I'm a student in the university. So the war is not started in 15 April, by the way. All of activists and civil society knows that. This war prepared from long time before 15 of April. I can start it not very long, but within the revolution, glorious September revolutions. The people, Sudanese people, was so angry, and they just went to the street, asking to change the system and the government, both of them, system and the government faces. So as a part of al-Bashir regime resistance of this revolution, he formed what it's called till the moment is as a Security Council. The Security Council, after a while of the revolution, like after 1 month or 2 months, they move al-Bashir. But they still, by the way, it's very important to see that the Security Council was included the higher commander of al-Bashir, trusted commander of al-Bashir, and also his stronger alliance, which is Hemeti, RSF leader. So after a while, they removed al-Bashir and said that we are with the revolutions, but the revolution, one of the revolution demand was civilian government and democratic transition. So how they deal with that? They started negotiation with civilians alliance, which is freedom and freedom forces, freedom and change forces. And after they move al-Bashir, they bring Ibn Auf, which is very close to al-Bashir. But Ibn Auf is known on the street as a very Islamist person. And Islamists come from Brotherhood, Islamic Brotherhoods organization. So the revolutionary refuse him again and is continuing demonstrate against him. After 48 hours, he removed. Before he removed, Al-Burhan was the second man, and he prepared for his coming by inter-dialogue with freedom and change forces. So when they bring Al-Burhan, the political parties said that this is the best of the worst group. He's the best one of them. He's in dialogue with us and so on. So they accept to partnership between them as a civilian parties and the Security Council, but revolutionary in the street refused that. They raised the slogan of the revolution is continue, which means don't back to your home. Is still Islamic Islamic Brotherhood system and regime are still with the Burhan. So people continue in the setting in Khartoum until the end of Ramadan, which is a holy month. Al-Burhan and his council present their real face and break the setting with the terrible, very terrible massacres. A lot of people killed on that, and youth bodies thrown to the Nile. I mean, I wish you hear about this story, but I don't want to continue on that. But so it's clear at that time of us that this Security Council is al-Bashir regime council. They continue playing the same role. But African unions pushed, actually, then the international community, especially African Union, pushed for another negotiation. This another negotiation supported by the street. Although they cut the internet, they cut the communication, but activists in the ground organized themselves very well, and again back to the street and calling for civilian government. So they sat with the civilian political party again and agreed in different points. One of the point is signing what we call it, sorry, the word is far from me, what we call it, the documents, I mean the laws document between them, between the two sides. The revolutionary also didn't trust this. To be in truth, to see the truth, the streets are divided. Some supported civilian forces on this agreement, and they do that because they believe that we cannot get all the cake in one time. It's a democratic, it's a process. So we have to accept that and work inside the government and work inside the Security Council to build our democracy. But big part of revolutionary refused that, and they said no. We went to the street to say we want civilian country, we want democratic country. There is no way that the military council be part of the government. So the situation since that it's not stable in Sudan. Although there is a civilian government come by Dr. Abdullah Hamdok, and he and his government, he have two governments. The two governments are faces a lot of challenge from the partner, by the way. In the way they signed the Juba agreement, and I think at the beginning it's a great successes, but at the end we discovered that this is not, because it's not stopped the war at all. So it's continuing until 25 of October 2021. It seemed like Islamic Brotherhood Islamic Party again feel like they cannot be patient with the situation and the coup coming. They think that it's a long time, people will fed up, and okay, we can come again with the new faces or something like that. But from the first moment of the coup, people go to street, and in the same way and same number of the revolution, they refuse the coup. And since 2021 till the war, Al-Burhan and his alliance failed to appoint a government, settled government. So there is a lot of resistance among all this time. Until also again, the international community trying to push for democratic transition. And again, they enter dialogue between them and the civilian parties. And in this dialogue, there is a very important files are open. One of them reforming security sectors. And the second one, the relation between security bodies, including army, including RSF itself, their relation with the investment in Sudan. They have big companies, they control the money. So this should be stopped. There is a lot of dialogue on that. And in this dialogue, the two parties of this war started to be different. Burhan side as an army and Hemeti side as a RSF. And from the beginning of 2023, it's clear that something will happen. There is a lot of speeches, heated speeches between the two sides, and it seemed like there is a lot of violence characters comes on these speeches, until 15 of April, the war started between the two sides. I wish this is answered your question. But my observation, and this is my opinion and white activists in Sudan, this war are completely 100% led and controlled by al-Bashir regime party. And that's why the two parties failed to go to the table in Jeddah, because al-Bashir party don't want that. And which supported this opinion that the first things happened when the war started, they released all al-Bashir government members from the gym. And after that, they started to be leaders. Now, one of the militia that supported the army is the militia of al-Bashir regime. And as if they established RSF and support them, they support this militia. So, Yani Hemeti, at the beginning of the war, he said the word, and we laugh because we always characterize him as a criminal and at the same time not fully political. But now we think that we should start it. They said, if you want to go to the negotiation, you should not negotiate al-Burhan. You have to negotiate Ali Karti, which is the leader now of Islamic Party, who is had the decision. And my observation, and this is my opinion, and strongly I support that, al-Burhan side, I cannot say the government because I didn't feel that there is a government now. There is like, it's a war. It's like militia and army everywhere. There is no civilian government and structure, even in Sudan. Even in Sudan, by the way. What you met is like people, but there is no work, there is no real work. And there is a lot of concern about the humanitarian aid that comes through Sudan. There is a lot of corruption happened about that. People are really suffering. I will tell you a lot of story of that. My observation is 100% led by the Islamic Party, al-Bashir regime party, by the way. And the second things I want to highlight it, yes, there is a lot of international interest in Sudan. And the war, they play this game on behalf of the international outsider parties also. I wish this not very long, but this is what happened. This is my story about happening in Sudan.
Thank you very much, Zara. You can see that we can listen to you all day because you give us a hands-on story, which may actually be uncomfortable for some people because we did not choreograph this, we did not prepare this. We just wanted a civil society person to come and tell us from their perspective how they understand the situation. But I think it is clear for everyone to see that we are confronted by three major crises at the moment. One, which is that you are in a situation of war. And this makes any form of dialogue very, very difficult. But secondly, you are also highlighting that while there are actors who are currently leading the two main warring factions, you are also saying that there is an influence of the former leader, al-Bashir, but also there's an influence of many other governments who have different interests in this conflict. We will want to hear a little bit more in the following session. We want to understand a little bit more about the peace processes. But for now, I want us to understand the humanitarian crisis. What is the nature of the humanitarian crisis? Unfortunately, we were supposed to have Hussein, who is a humanitarian worker, to give us detail. But even just now, he recorded his presentation because he was having difficulties connecting.
I'm Hussein Usman, Program Director, Irada. based on Kosti, Wild Nile State, Sudan. To all peace-loving people and all actors in humanitarian field, this is the message to you from one of rooted local organization, IRADA. IRADA is an emergency relief and rehabilitation and development wing of Sudan Council of Churches, established in 1997. Our head office is in Khartoum, with the sub office in South Darfur, Niala, and South Kordofan, Kadugli, and also White Nile State office. All office closed except White Nile and new office in Al-Qadarif State. In the Qadarif State, staff were released. Only remain core staff. Being moved to White Nile State, they rather head office. So, situation in Sudan remain desperate, as there is no sign of any ceasefire to stop the war. Therefore, people and family is still displaced. Refugees and others move from place to place, escaping from fighting zone. White Nile State become one of safe area and destination for those who flee from Khartoum, Al Jazeera, Greater Kordofan State, Darfur, and Greater Darfur State. They were living in open areas or schools with no any basic services, such as food, such as water, shelter, sanitation, and health. Almost health facilities are commercial, where settled fees to be paid before services rendered. Few government facilities lack the capacity to provide necessary primary health care to the people. No-can areas are located in order to be supported by organization with a shelter, wash, sanitation, or health facilities. It rather responded to this humanitarian crisis in Wild Nile in 2023 in partnership with Norwegian church heads, Tier Fund, and Plan International. So, Norwegian church heads provided 1,800 women with the dignity kits and supported social psychology in the IDP center under the GVV project. A Tier Fund provided also 400 women with the dignity kits and 400 family with the food packets, which compose of oil, sugar, flour, and salt. When we come to the Plan International provided 2,400 women with the dignity kits. 983 households with the food buckets. And 838 non-food items to the IDPs. And also, Plan International provides health services through mobile clinic to the gathering IDP center, which reach to 7,906 outpatients. A rather receive from Wild Nile State Emergency Committee the statistic on 6 May 2024, 206 and 970 households, which is equivalent to 1,139,677 individuals, which approximately 45% children, 35% women, and 20% men's. But host community, which will be a double to this data, were not included in these statistics. So, according to the current data from cluster data on the Sudan IDPs from IOM, that is International Organization for Immigration, recorded, and other organizations like UNICEF and OCHA recorded 8.6 million displaced in Sudan. This huge number of displaced, some of the number categorizing like 6.6 million displaced internal or within Sudan, 2 million displaced in neighboring country. Due to the huge number of the IDPs in Sudan, the government, international organization, local organization are not able to meet to all IDPs household needs, which is needs from sanitation, from water, from shelter, from food. They're not able to provide this. That is why I do this message to all peace-loving peoples and actors in humanitarian to support Sudan. Thank you.
But he just sent us a message right now to share with us the challenge that he is facing since last night. I don't know if Marcelo, you want to play the audio first, and then we can look at the video of the humanitarian situation.
Yeah, Kenneth, we're trying to play that audio on our computers, Evars and I, with no success. We can only play it on our phones. Let me see what I can do. Maybe we play the video first. Is that okay?
Yes, please. Let's play the video so that we understand how this war has created a humanitarian catastrophe which has not been fully appreciated by the world. Please go ahead, Marcelo.
Thank you.
I'm Hussein Usman, Program Director, Irada, based on Kosti, Wild Nile State, Sudan. To all peace-loving people and all actors in humanitarian field, this is the message to you from one of rooted local organization, Irada. Irada is an emergency relief and rehabilitation and development wing of Sudan Council of Churches, established in 1997. Our head office is in Khartoum, with the sub office in South Darfur, Niala, and South Kordofan, Kadugli, and also White Nile State office. All office are closed except White Nile and new office in Al Qadarif State. In the Qadarif State, staff were released. Only remain core staff. Being moved to White Nile State, they rather head office. So, situation in Sudan remain desperate, as there is no sign of any ceasefire to stop the war. Therefore, people and family is still displaced. Refugees and others move from place to place, escaping from fighting zone. White Nile State become one of safe area and destination for those who flee from Khartoum, Al Jazeera, Greater Kordofan State, Darfur, and Greater Darfur State. They were living in open areas or schools with no any basic services, such as food, such as water, shelter, sanitation, and health. Almost health facilities are commercial, where settled fees to be paid before services rendered. Few government facilities lack the capacity to provide necessary primary health care to the people. No-can areas allocated in order to be supported by organization with a shelter, wash, sanitation, or health facilities. Iraq responded to this humanitarian crisis in Wild Nile in 2023 in partnership with Norwegian church heads, Tier Fund, and Plan International. So, Norwegian church heads provided 1,800 women with the dignity kits and supported social psychology in the IDP center under the GVV project. A tier fund provided also 400 women with the dignity kits and 400 family with the food packets, which composed of oil, sugar, flour, and salt. When we come to the Plan International provided 2,400 women with the dignity kits. 983 households with the food buckets. And 838 non-food items to the IDPs. And also, Plan International provides health services through mobile clinic to the gathering IDP center, which reached to 7,906 outpatients. Rather receive from Wild Nile State Emergency Committee the statistic on 6 May 2024, 206 and 970 household, which is equivalent to 1,139,677 individuals, which approximately 45% children, 35% women, and 20% men's. But host community, which will be a double to this data, were not included in these statistics. So, according to the current data from cluster data on the Sudan IDPs from IOM, that is International Organization for Immigration, recorded, and other organizations like UNICEF and OCHA recorded 8.6 million displaced in Sudan. This huge number of displaced, some of the number categorizing like 6.6 million displaced internal or within Sudan, 2 million displaced in neighboring country. Due to the huge number of the IDPs in Sudan, the government, international organization, local organization are not able to meet to all IDPs IDP's household needs, which is needs from sanitation, from water, from shelter, from food. They're not able to provide this. That is why I do this message to all loving, peace-loving peoples and actors in humanitarian to support Sudan. Thank you.
We apologize for the quality of that video, but I hope many of you will appreciate the love with which Hussein tried to account for the situation in the middle of a crisis. He tried to tell the story, the real detailed story of displacement, impoverishment, need of food, of water, of healthcare, of education, of shelter, and to try and give this in detail. We were hoping that he was going to join, but the situation around him deteriorated in the last hours, and it was not possible for him to join us. We will at some point try to listen to some of the messages he has been sending from the difficult place where he is now. But I want us just to imagine that out of the 71 million people that are displaced in the world, internally displaced in the world, almost 10 million of these people are in Sudan. So this is a story that the world is not taking very seriously. We are in a huge humanitarian crisis. So on one hand, we need to find peace so that people can go back to their normal life. But on the other hand, we need to be providing humanitarian services so that those who are currently displaced may get something to live with. And I want us to start with the first concern. How do we find peace? Because there have been many efforts now towards peace. I saw Reverend Michael Foster asking a question here on the warring, the protagonists in Sudan, wanting to know who they are, what their interests are. Do they simply want money? Do they simply want power? And those who are seeking democracy, the citizens who were protesting, who were hopeful that a government of democracy could be established. What are their challenges? Are they too divided? What are the challenges with the external actors, the countries around Libya, Egypt, the countries in the Middle East, and so forth? There have been several peace efforts, and many of these peace efforts have not yet been successful. Zara, can you characterize these peace efforts? Why? What are they? What efforts towards peace have been attempted, and why have they not been successful?
So my answer is there is a different background of this field. By the way, from the first second of the starting of the war, there is like two divided groups. The groups who supported the war, supported army or supported RSF, and the groups of Sudanese who refused the war and want the peace. You think it's usually and normally that the voices of peace will be higher because this is a logic. Yani. People don't want to be part of this conflict or this war, especially because the war is between two armies. Two armies who are partner, who used to be used to be in alliance. So when they different, they fight each other. So there is a very simple question said: why we are in this war? This is a war between them. So why they targeted people? Why they targeted houses? Why they targeted IDBs camps? Why they targeted people who are not part of this war? They are not army, they are not militia, they are not that. So unfortunately, the uglies of the war pull a lot of people to be part of the war. I mean civilian, and I mean also activists. Especially what RSF doing in Khartoum. Take homes, a lot of rapes cases, a lot of rapes cases, a lot of deaths and killing of civilians. So people started, we cannot, we have a right to protect ourselves. We have to get a gun. And when we got a gun, we will fight with the side of army, because the army at least didn't kill us, didn't raping us, didn't enter the houses. But then part of the army fighting, they target the houses of people under the umbrella that RSF soldiers and fighters are in these houses. So a lot of civilian who are targeted, even in not direct way. So since this, there is a lot of divider between people and activists. We cannot say that Sudanese want peace or what. All of Sudanese want peace. But there is a difference between Sudanese. There is a part want peace without RSF in Sudan. And there is people who want peace without Islamic Brotherhood's party who supported the army now. And there is people who are in the middle. They want just peace. Both sides should just sit in Jeddah anywhere and bring peace. And I think this is a huge number of people. And I think this is a bigger part of people. Politically, from the first day, there is a call of let's build a front of against war, of a front of peace. And there is a lot of initiatives comes from different Sudanese initiatives come to trying to push for the two sides to stay in the negotiation table. And in November, I think last November, or between November and October, there is alliance of different initiatives which called Taqaddum, led again by Dr. Abdullah Hamdok now. They call for peace, and they got a lot of communication with the international community, trying to find solution or trying to push the two sides for staying in peace. But they cannot till the moment affect in the ground. They can't push any of the both sides to sit in negotiation table. As one of the speakers said, there is a huge mistrust between the two sides, but also there is a hidden hands which not want peace at all. One of the biggest challenges now in the community level, it's a heritage speech. There is a lot of heritage in the ground as a result of this war. Ethnic heritage, religion heritage, gender heritage, a lot of heritage everywhere. There is a lot of crimes happening under this heritage speech. I don't know if you hear about in northern Sudan, there is a lot of Darfurian are arrested and put in the gym. Part of them die in the gyms. And in Medani, before the enter of RSF on it, there is a number of people who work in sailing waters or very small water. They killed because their skin is dark and they should be part of Darfur. Although in Darfur, people are suffering from RSF because RSF started the war with killing a lot of people of Masalid for tribal, for example. So Darfurian people or South Kordofan people or anybody who had dark skin are targeted because they characterize as a part of RSF in many cities of Sudan now. So there is no safety, there is no safety. And we, on this situation with this heritage speech, how you can see that civilian can play a role in build peace is different. They are very divided. They are very targeted also. So it's like we need a lot of work to push for this the two side. I don't think there is a real interest to build peace now in Sudan because the two parties had in the ground a lot of power. So if they go to the peace, the question is start. Why you do that? Why you kill people? Why this war against civilian? And this question should be avoided as much as they can.
Thank you very much, Zara. I want to take in some inputs from others at the moment. I guess there are some who may say, we have questions, or they say, we have ideas on how you people in Sudan could build your peace, and this is our suggestion. We have ideas. I want to see if we can see anyone who is interested in sharing some thoughts on peace. Before we do this, I want you to also to know that the World Council of Churches has been involved in Sudan for a very long time, and we have participated in other peace processes. And maybe before we get the views of others, it may be helpful for us to get a sense of what is our understanding of peace as an ecumenical movement? How have we been doing it? Can we learn from this, and then we can have inputs from other participants? Peter, I don't know if Peter is already here. Peter.
Yes, Kenneth, I'm online. Forgive me, I'm not going to turn my video on though, because I'm on the move. Yes. But I would be happy to provide a little input on how the WCC understands or its approach to peace and how we are concretely engaged in different contexts. I mean, I think the first thing to say is that the WCC certainly has a comprehensive and inclusive vision of peace, that peace is certainly far more than the simple absence of armed conflict, and that without justice, without human rights, without many other foundations for peace, peace is not sustainable, and there is in fact no true peace. Our perspectives on the issue of peace and what makes for peace is well set out in the statement adopted by the WCC 11th Assembly in September 2022, called "The Things That Make for Peace." And if anyone on the call is interested in receiving that statement, or we can certainly provide it and circulate it, but you will also easily find it on the WCC website. In terms of the different modalities in which WCC is engaged in different ways, in different contexts for peace, one such modality is direct engagement in political dialogue processes. For example, in the situation in Colombia, WCC is one of the official permanent accompaniers of the dialogue process between the government of Colombia and the Estado Mayor Central of the FARC-EP, one of the factions of one of the leading armed groups that has remained outside the peace agreements reached thus far. So WCC participates in that dialogue table alongside the government, alongside the representatives of the armed group, alongside the UN, the Organization of American States, and the guarantor governments, the guarantor states like Norway and Switzerland and others. And so we have a direct role in what is known as a track one process for peace. In other cases, we are behind the scenes rather than at the table directly. In such cases, we are encouraging governmental authorities, as well as armed groups or other actors, to go to the table of dialogue and to engage in dialogue for peace. That's the case, for example, in our work in West Papua, the Papuan provinces of Indonesia, where we are really trying to encourage the Indonesian government and the armed groups in that context to come together, to meet, to dialogue, and to achieve the basis for a sustainable peace. In still other cases, our work for peace is primarily looking at those issues, those foundational issues that provide the basis for peace or the lack thereof, in particular monitoring human rights violations and reporting on them. That's the case, for example, in our work in Israel-Palestine, where we have a long-standing engagement for monitoring, reporting, and conveying experiences on behalf of Palestinian communities who find themselves in the midst of this terrible conflict situation. In still other cases, and I would say this is actually the majority of cases, WCC's work for peace is really work conducted through our constituency, through our member churches, through our ecumenical partners in their respective contexts. And because this is the real strength of the World Council of Churches. As an organization, WCC is not so very big, but as a global constituency, we are vast. We are a constituency of 600 million people in 120 countries. And we have church leaders and other community representatives who know very well, who are experts in the issues, in the conflict dynamics, and also have influential roles in their societies and can help be leaders for peace. So, for example, the case of South Sudan, represented here in this call by Father James, is one such case, where the work of the WCC was very much about strengthening the South Sudan Council of Churches and then accompanying the council, supporting and encouraging it in its work for intercommunal peace in South Sudan, which is, of course, still an ongoing and very difficult work. And this is also the modality that we were seeking to pursue in Sudan when we took the delegation visit to Sudan in April 2022, 2 years ago and 1 year before the conflict broke out. We could see that the Sudan Council of Churches was in great need of international accompaniment and support in order to rebuild and to become a viable instrument for peace, for social cohesion, for social inclusion in Sudan. And that with the support of the World Council of Churches and of many other international and regional ecumenical partners, there was a real chance that the Sudan Council of Churches could be rehabilitated and could become a viable voice for the minority churches in Sudan in the context of dialogue processes and the pursuit of peace and social cohesion in the country. Sadly, just 1 year after that visit, we saw the crisis that has since emerged, which has rendered the situation infinitely more difficult, infinitely more vulnerable. And we have, I think, a real responsibility as an international ecumenical community to stand alongside the churches and the church leaders who are now themselves in displacement and direct victims of the crisis that has unfolded before our eyes. So this is a little snapshot of the ways in which the WCC seeks to engage for peace. And I'd be happy to provide further information should there be any questions arising from what I've shared. Thank you very much, Kenneth.
Thank you very much, Peter. Peter is the director of the Commission for Churches in International Affairs, a commission that has played an important role, even leading to the formation of the World Council of Churches when the world was coming out of the Second World War. And this commission played an important role in creating an international, contributing to the creation of the international infrastructure for the human rights framework, so that the world could resolve conflicts in non-violent ways. And we are glad that this commission continues to play this role on behalf of the churches. But specifically in Sudan, we have visited the country. But what are the other processes towards contribution to peace, Reverend Bushishi? What are some of the efforts that are in place for us to continue accompanying the people in Sudan? I will also ask our audience, those who are participating, if some of them could have ideas on how they think churches, interfaith actors, and other opportunities they observe could be reached out to contribute towards peace, to signal, and then they can also make a contribution. Reverend Bushishi.
Thank you very much. Actually haven't Zara, it's even complication on the situation. As Peter said, we really, with our constituency on the ground. Since 2022, the challenge of the SCC and even the member really need to be strengthened. After we had a reflection as ecumenical partners, and our focus and all there is little we can contribute if we do not have the structure on the ground, because council and a church that will lead and we accompany them, and very necessary from the. We are very keen to ensure that we to also understand their position will now reflect on how to account. Observed during the visit was the Muslims that is had about 13 or 12 sheikhs that.
Maybe you can remove the video, Reverend Bushishi, so that because we can't. There is too much maybe traffic on your line. Maybe if you just speak using your mic, maybe we remove the video. Maybe it can we can hear you a little bit better.
And what I was trying to say is that during the visit, we met with a group of 12 sheikhs and imams. Their commitment and that is towards strengthening with the Council of Churches to respond to this issue. An entry point, if we can try and to see how we can really bring them together, engage, and having the opportunity to visit the RS contribute. We have heard from the leaders of the military reflection on the issue. We also need to meet. From what we can hear from the two groups will help us in the way forward. I think, and the reflection we had as partners that visited thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Bushishi. Even though we could not get some of your sentences, it is very clear that you are saying one commitment we have is to continue to speak to the current military leadership in Port Sudan. This effort, you can't avoid in the conversation. We need to make efforts to connect with the RISF, because you can't ignore the RISF. They are part and parcel the warring factions. But you are also saying that we need to make sure that we support civilian actors in their different groupings. We have already engaged the churches, we have engaged the mosques, we have engaged the Muslim leaders, we have engaged the Christian leaders, and we were inspired by the commitment of the sheikhs we met from the Muslim Council and the church leaders we met. We were together in one meeting, and they all made a commitment that they want to build a pact for peace together. And we need to see, therefore, how these efforts of the religious leaders could be connected with the efforts of the civil society. We need, if we are going to build peace, there must be a groundswell of those who desire peace, who want to realize peace in a negotiated, who want to realize peace not on the basis of the winner of the war, but on the basis of negotiation. I see a hand, Reverend Michael Foster. Please make your contribution.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for the inputs, and it's very enlightening. The one thing that I've been involved in Eswatini and the DRC at the moment, and we are arranging special training for the interreligious groups. And I'm just wondering to what extent in conflict management and also peace building and peacemaking processes. And I'm wondering to what extent that sort of training would be either useful or has happened with the current Council of Churches of Sudan, and also perhaps the Interreligious Council. And if that perhaps is still a need, I would be happy to introduce a process if people are open to that.
Thank you very much, Reverend Foster. I think you are bringing an important component. We will need more and more training in a more technical way, because sometimes people may be willing to participate in peace processes, but they may not be having the necessary capacities for negotiation, for conflict management, resolution, and so forth. So I think these are resources that can become very valuable. I've noted this down, and I think we can follow up. We need more to be more organized as peace actors. More than those who carry guns are organized. The biggest problem in the world is that those who are fighting and organizing for war are better organized than those who are fighting for peace. And therefore, the question is, how do we organize those who want to realize peace on the basis of non-violence? And I think training is one important component to realize that. Is there anyone else who wants to make a contribution before I go back to you, Zara, because I want to get again some of your insights. What else is needed to realize peace? I will want us to finish this conversation on peace so that we go to the last segment where we reflect on the humanitarian side. What needs to be done on the humanitarian side? Do you have any thoughts again here, Zara, on peace efforts? What more do you think is required, both from you as civil society and from actors from outside Sudan? We know that there are too many hands that are involved in the conflict. What is required? Recently, we heard that IGAD is appointed a new envoy for peace, but we know that the initial IGAD process was not realized. What is your view? What needs to be done in order for us to realize peace? As Peter has explained, peace that is based on participation of all people, that is based on justice, and a peace that is sustainable, peace that is far much more than simply the cessation of war.
Yeah, one of the things is strengthening civilian voices, strengthening civilians, actors to be part of the negotiation itself, because negotiation is between the two sides of the war. But you can imagine which Sudan will come after this negotiation, even if they stay and if they approve to sit in the table. They will just divide Sudan between them. So it's very important that civilian voices being in this table, and I think the international organization, you and all actors, Africa, especially after actors, can play a big role on that. The second things, I think, as I write in the chat, it's very important to push the countries supporting war in Sudan, having a message to them, sending a message that you should stop that, because the two parties are not very strong as they continue for this year, and they continue forever if they got support from outsider. So it's very important to raise the demand of stopping support the war and the parties who fight in Sudan. It's very important. The third things concerning humanitarian support, there is like a great work happening inside Sudan by what we call it emergency rooms. They are the revolutionaries who started to initiate their initiative to support IDPs, support people who injured in this war and everything. And they are most of the support coming from these people in the ground, but they didn't get any support, international support. Yeah, they didn't get a lot, not at all, but not a big support from the international, because the support is going with the civil society. They are civil society also. They are civil society who work in the ground, and we have to support them. Also, I want to highlight the refugees. There is a big number of refugees in Chad, in South Sudan, in Uganda, in Ethiopia also, and in Egypt. In Libya now, we hear that we have a numbers of Sudanese come to Libya. They are in different situation, but we just hear this morning about the situation of Sudanese refugees in Amhara state in Ethiopia. It's very bad. It's terrible. Videos and messages come from them, and also in Chad, in Adri and other camps, refugees camps. The situation is very bad. In Uganda, I saw it. I saw what's happened in Uganda, and now I'm in Egypt and see that the Sudanese refugees are suffering a lot. I can imagine how the things happen in South Sudan or other countries. So always people, when we talk about the humanitarian support, they talk about the IDPs inside Sudan. That's true. There is a lot of need of IDPs, and part of this support, by the way, I just want to share with you that all Sudanese, I can say, all Sudanese need psychological support. So providing this psychological support, it's very important for Sudanese inside Sudan and Sudanese in refugees camps. That's very support. So I think, as you said before, we have to work on the two sides. Stopping the war, it's very important. Stopping the war, I support have a dialogue with the two sides. This is a great things, but also it's very important to involve civilian who has another perspective of peace building. It's important to have it in the same table. It's important to transfer the table of negotiation. Instead of talking about a current war, it's to stop the wars in all Sudan at all. We don't want any fight after this war, because it's continuing since our independence. We are from war to war, and this should be stopped. Stand in solidarity with Sudanese by raising the voices of peace. Sudan will not retain stand up We will not return to our home safety with the gate of violence, with the gate of heritage, with the gate of injustice. We have to, we know that we need to be in cohesion together and stand together and raising the voices of peace, supporting the voices of peace to be very high. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zara. I think this is a good transition for us to go to this last part of our conversation because you are highlighting that civilians need to be part and parcel of the efforts towards peace. And in addition to the main parties, those who are armed, the Sudan armed forces, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and also those who are led by the rapid support forces led by General Yemeti. You are saying, in addition to these prominent forces, you want a comprehensive peace solution to Sudan, where all the other small warring groups are also brought in, so that there is no war, but at the same time, making sure that civilians are able to participate. And I think this is a very clear message, but also a pattern we see in many other countries. But I think in addition to efforts towards peace, people must survive for another day. They need food, they need water, they need sanitation. We just got a message, I think, from Hussein. I don't know if we are able just to play a short audio message that we just got now on the humanitarian situation now as we are gathering here, and then maybe we can get more inputs into how the humanitarian situation could be addressed. Ivas, I don't know if we can play the video or the audio. Or Marcelo, are you there?
Sorry, I said, let me read the second questions. The question number one was, how was the conflict affect life of normal people or ordinary people? So the ordinary peoples, especially in Sudan, has been affected during this war. The effects of this is appear, especially when we see the financial, economically, and socially, psychologically affect people, normal people in this field. For example, when we find economically, those who are working in especially in agriculture, especially farming, farmers, and those who are working in the commercial sector, all have been affected due to this crisis, especially when we see in Jazeera state. Jazeera is a big area, a big state with agriculture. Most of the people in Jazeera, they are farmers, they work in agriculture. Due to this war, they are not able to work, and they flee from the state. When we find those who are working in the commercial sector, bringing the goods from outside or working inside, selling and buying, it's been affected due to the inflation of the state, inflation of the economic. Local currency, as you see now, is being dropped from today, in the daily basis, or sometimes when we come to at the end of the month, you will find that the dollars is being raised or is being increased 3 times or 4 times. That is why affect the commercial sector, especially those who are used to bring our side things to Sudan. Also, when we find to in the economic sector, most of the people are not working, especially those who are working in the public. Few people are working. Most of the people lost their job during this war. They are not able to work. That is why they don't have something in their hand. They are in dilemma because they don't know what to do. When we find in the state of Churchill, now it is difficult for the people to move or gathering. You find that emergency law affect the ordinary people. There is no movement. Movement is you have time, limited time for movement, and also the gathering is the problem. People are not able to gather well during this time of emergency. That is why affect movement of the people. Those who are used to visit the families or to visit the relative affect. You are working within the time. The time of the emergency, we are not able to move. When we come to see the psychologically, people are being affected. You'll find maybe somebody close to you pass away or is not around because of this war, is moving to other area. Also, everything that you've seen in the daily basis, dying of people suffering from food, suffering from everything, is not exist in the state. This one make people really thinking so much about this situation. About this situation. When we come to the second question, how has the conflict affect women and children specifically? Women are, when we come to these questions in Sudan here, children are in great number. When we find maybe 100 of the people, you will find among them maybe 70% will be the children. During this war, children live in the harsh condition. Children are vulnerable, malnutrition, to the childhood disease, and women, especially lactating and pregnant women, decreated, and because of the lack of every necessary things and irregular vaccination affects or creates the diseases or death. That is why the women and the children are more affected, especially when we find women in the reproductive sector. They don't get basic services when they want to deliver or to follow up. There is no good centers or near center or anything that they can support these women. Some of the health facilities are not near to the IDPs or are not near to some of the areas. That is why the pregnant women are facing a lot of problems to go to the health sector. When we see also in the form of the work, most of the women are suffering to bring something to their children, because some of the women, their husband are not working and are not around with them, and women are trying to feed their family. In this case, sometimes they exposed to the danger, especially for the sex abuse or violence, for example, physical violence. They will face in these dangerous things. Children are not able to meet their schools, to go to schools, and also some of the activities that they can practice is not there, it's not around. That is why the children are lack of everything, and also most of the children they left their homes, they are looking for a job, and people are using them as a laborers in the age which is not relevant to work. And that is why most of the children are suffering due to the situation that the family facing. When we come to another question,
So maybe
why is the food insecurity so severe? The food, when we see this situation in Sudan, you will find that most of the productive state, people are evacuated. When we see to Jazeera is a productive state that most of the people are working agriculture, they are working livelihood, they miss this.
so I we had to stop the audio in light of our time, which is almost up. But I think I think this is a detailed account. The reason why we asked I was saying to give this detailed story is because of where he is located. He is not in Port Sudan. He is in the middle of the crisis, where actually the war is taking place, and we are encouraged by his sacrifice to be there to accompany people and to contribute to supporting displaced people. We have heard him explain the challenges of destroyed livelihoods. We have heard the collapse of the financial system. We have heard how agriculture has collapsed because people have fled the fertile areas of Jazeera. And we have heard the crisis on women and children, children being used more in child labor, women not getting support for sexual health and reproductive health. I mean, we can hear the depth of this crisis, and our time does not allow us to go into further details, but I think it may be helpful for us maybe to have the last few words. Bishop, if Bishop Kondo is still here, I think it will be helpful for us just to hear from him what he is requesting the world to do. I will also ask Peter and also ask Zara to give her last words. I'm sorry that this was is a situation that requires more reflection. We had planned for 2 hours, and I want us to conclude in the apportioned time. Bishop Kondo, are you still there?
I'm afraid the bishop is no longer with us.
The bishop is not here anymore. Father James, maybe on his behalf, you could say a few last words and also maybe especially refer to the humanitarian crisis we are hearing. Father James.
Being a part of the big Sudan, whether Sudan or South Sudan, we have gone through all these pains. And when we see in our leadership the lack of trust, lack of that political will to dialogue, it brings us pains. I want to speak on behalf of the church in Sudan, that we as a global church need to accompany and to support them. They are now desperate. They are not in the positive thing, but we need to support them in their pastoral endeavors, in their pastoral journey, in their pastoral message. For example, like now, if we could support them to make a message, an advocacy message that should carry the word, stop the war and violence, and start dialogue for comprehensive peace, which is inclusive. This message can help them so that they can come out of the tunnel. And on behalf of the church, the global church needs to echo this voice, needs to echo this concern. I understand what Zara has been saying. Our people, we are all divided. Everybody wants to we move on. There's a challenge from the military who are backed by the people are behind. The RSF who are backed by some other guys. The message needs to reach these backers. Those who are backing this war. They need to understand that it's enough. We have died enough. What do they want more than that? What is that they want to achieve? Enough is enough. We're not shut off this door of violence. I know we live in poverty. We shall continue to live in poverty. And the natural resources that we have become a source of curse instead of a source of blessing. So the church in Sudan stands very strongly for peace. We want to advocate and speak for peace, and that peace which is comprehensive, as Peter had expressed. The global church can accompany this church in Sudan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Father James, for those emphatic words. Zara, do you have any concluding words?
So I just want to say how much we appreciate such webinar. We, after a year of the war, started to be normal and aware, or feeling normally with ignoring us as Sudanese. We hear every day a lot of news about Gaza and the suffering of Palestinian people, and we stand with them for sure. But when we see the videos and the letters and the stories comes from our relative, our sisters and brother from Sudan, feel like, why the world ignoring us? Why? I will tell you one story here in Egypt. I have a conversation with Egyptian youth here, and he just answered the question that in Gaza there is a fighting from Israel to against Palestine, but in Sudan you are fighting each internal fighting. So it's a problem between you. Is like a family problem, and that's why they don't want to deal with it. And I think this is like a heading wall between seeing the truth, what's happening in Sudan. What happened in Sudan is not 100% internally. It's come from outsider with big percentage. So this is one. Secondly, the suffering in Sudan is huge. You cannot even have like a one webinar to talk about it. So we need the stand of the world with us. We really appreciate for the council, the church council, for this visit. It's mean a lot. Actually. We feel like there is, it's truth what the Sudanese said, that we feel like there is a light. Some part of the world still remember us as a human who's suffering. We need your support. We are needing your support to stop this war. We need your support in terms of humanitarian aid a lot. We want you to stand with us. We need to feel just that people still remember us and still stand with us. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Council of Church, and thanks of us, all of you, for that.
Yes, thank you very much. Peter, are you still there?
Yes, I am, Kenneth. Yes.
What would be your words? Yes.
Well, I think all of us on this call have recognized the enormity, the gravity, the existential nature of the crisis in Sudan, even if it is not reported on anything like adequately. We have heard about the level of displacement, making it one of the largest displacement crises in the world. And I want to emphasize also that it is the largest child displacement crisis, with well over 3 million children displaced as a result of the conflict. And the fact that fully 1/2 of Sudan's 51 million people are in urgent humanitarian need speaks for itself. And the fact that the international community has responded so poorly to the humanitarian need, and even more poorly to the need for political engagement, to pressure the parties to the conflict to come to the table for peace, is really an indictment of the international community's double standards. So we are hoping, and certainly the intention of the World Council of Churches through the high-level delegation visit that has just taken place, and through this webinar and through other strategies that we will seek to employ, we want to make people aware of this crisis and to build a movement of solidarity for Sudan through the churches, through the ecumenical community globally, and through the wider international community. And we certainly hope that everybody who's participated in this webinar will yourselves become amplifiers of this concern and speak to everyone you know, and to exercise whatever influence you can to help bring about that solidarity for Sudan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. I want to thank all of you for participating, but particularly our guests, Hussein and Zara, and our church leaders, Reverend Ushishi, Bishop Kondo, Father James, Miss Janet, even though she could not connect, Reverend Jean, who is connecting, also who was part of the delegation, and our colleagues who have made this platform possible, from communications, from the director, Marianne, Marcelo, Evas, and all the colleagues working behind the scenes. Thank you very much for preparing this engagement. We look forward to continue the conversation. We hope that the people from Sudan will also continue to help us so that we find ways in which we can amplify their own voice. Best wishes to you, Zara, where you are in exile, and also your efforts, Father James, in South Sudan. We pray that God may give you courage and wisdom in whatever you are doing. Thank you very much, and all of you have a good evening, good day, and a good morning